I have nipples. I don't know what you want. What started as a single moment? What if I just started the video like that? What started as a single moment to escape to in my mind, an idea that made the madness of today just that much more bearable. If I could freeze this daydream into a place I could visit, a sanctuary where I could breathe and be, has now turned into 62,700 something. Oops. Just a lot of words. Is it a good story? I'm not entirely sure. This is not the type of story I'm used to telling. This is, well, I'm going to be honest with you, dear viewer, and possibly dear future reader if I ever get over my fear of sharing, but in my first attempt at NaNoWriMo, the most I've ever written for one single project, I've written smut. And it was fun.
Does this not meet your definition of smut?
Oh, it does. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Neverland Book Club, or should I say the Neverland Writers Club. Today we are discussing the top 10 things I learned during my first successful attempt at NaNoWriMo. That's right, I somehow successfully wrote over 50,000 words of a novel in the month of November. And it's more now, but whatever. I went on a new and intimidating writing journey that I will not soon forget. I took the time in October to prepare myself for this venture, and I can't say how glad I am for that. I've learned a lot about myself and my writing process over this past month. I've mostly learned about how stubborn I am, though I already knew that. This just really brought that part of me back to the surface. I stuck to a very tight regiment, focusing on daily word count goals. And I'll tell you, watching that word count slowly climb up and up every day was so rewarding, so satisfying. It was inspiration on its own to continue the process and not give up. Before we begin, I want to say a quick thank you to my lovely husband for supporting me this month. I know I drove him, oh god, he's dead over there. I know I drove him a little crazy here and there, and that I basically neglected him once in a while when I'd hole myself up in our little office room for hours and hours just to write, so thanks, babe. Also, I've noticed the writing community on Twitter is much more engaging than on Instagram. Maybe that's just me, but I'm on Twitter now, apparently. Here's my handle. Please, twit me.
Did you say at me, not...
No, twit me.
Okay.
Twit me good. All right, let's get started. Here are the roughly 10 things I've learned this past month. Well, not this, last month. I've been procrastinating. First, and this may come as a shock to you, but write. That's it. It's actually a lot more simple than you think. When you have an idea for a short story or a novel, sometimes it can be overwhelming and intimidating to start. You may not even know where to start. The point is just to write, and I'm sure you've heard that. I've heard it an insufferable amount of times from so many different people, but it's the simple truth. The point is to write, no matter where in the story that may be. You could start writing in the middle of the story and not even know it until your manuscript is farther along enough. The first words in the initial Word document I started when I had this little daydream of this novel was just a word vomit stream of consciousness letter to myself I knew no one would ever read. And it was there that I started writing this story that is now 60,000 plus words strong. So, right. Even if it's bad, even if it's total crap, crap words are better than no words at all. So, number 2, be prepared. Those 5 days I had to myself in a hotel towards the end of October was the perfect opportunity to prepare and decide what it was I was going to write about and to have a rough outline of the story structure I wanted to stick to. I was able to flesh out my characters, give them backstories, motive, inner and outer conflict, all that good stuff you need to make characters interesting, and I really hope I did them justice. If you've ever written anything, you're probably familiar with that little voice in your head that's constantly telling you the story is trash. Just don't listen to it. As much as it's screaming, at least it's in your head. Back to the point, have a plan and try to stick to it as much as possible. You just need to know the general direction you're headed. This can even be helpful for pantsers who don't like to outline. Having an idea of where the story will end, at least in regards to your characters, can be immensely helpful in bringing the story from point A to point Z. Third, take breaks. Please don't overdo it. You don't want to get burnt out. This was a good sprint of a month, but it's okay to not go so hard the entire time. Establish mini goals, word count goals for the day every day, and try to meet them in a reasonable manner. Then build up your daily word count as time goes by and you get into a better groove of things. 2,000 words or even 1,000 words a day can be pretty steep for some people. I averaged about 1,500 to 1,700 words a day during the entire month, with only 2 days of a break for Thanksgiving. There was one day I wrote 5,000 words in one day. Pablo was not home and I didn't have work that day, so I went a little insane. But I also didn't eat all day, or shower, or drink water, and felt like a shell of a person at the end of it, so worth it? Yes, actually, it was. But do as I say, not as I do, and take breaks. Setting timers is also very helpful in reminding you to stay hydrated, use the bathroom, go shower, eat, all the human necessity things that take up too much time. Oh, should we make a stay hydrated, keep writing water bottle next?
We should sell the ones we have first.
That's a good idea. Please don't be mad at me for buying like 100 of them. Number 4, talk it out when you get stuck. Get stuck. Find someone you can bounce ideas off of, even if it's your cat. Just don't hurt them. You'd be surprised how much a word spoken out loud by someone you trust can alter your perspective of your own characters. And you'd really be surprised if your cat spoke back to you. Sometimes that feeling of doubt can creep in because we are too close to the story, too enveloped in our own characters to see the whole novel with a bird's eye view. To see it from someone else's perspective mid-manuscript could be helpful depending on where you get stuck. I know on countless occasions I'd walk into the room and just yell at Pablo, "I'm stuck!" Then would ensue. And he'd help me work out what the story needed next to progress. I highly recommend having a first reader, someone you trust, someone who will give you honest and constructive criticism without being discouraging or pessimistic. This could also be a friend or a community online that has a similar goal. Being accountable for your word count can be encouraging just by knowing someone will ask you later if you've written anything today. Sort of like a gym buddy for your novel. See, I preach having like a first reader, and I don't know if I want anyone to read this. It's too dirty. 5. When the words aren't coming, don't force them. Get up and do something else and come back. Go do some laundry, fold that pile of clean clothes that's been sitting untouched for 3 days, unload the dishwasher. I'm just naming things I have to do now. Writer's block is a myth. Your inspiration comes from the things you seek. Listen to music, watch a movie with the same vibe as your novel, go for a walk and people watch. Make up stories for them and see which would fit. But don't force the story to go in one direction when it doesn't feel right. What's possibly worse than not writing at all is writing 5,000 words that don't belong in your book. Well, actually, that's not entirely true. Those 5,000 words could be right for a different book, but that's just too distracting and messy. And that would annoy me, but you do you. Point is, don't force it. 6. It can be done. I think this was the biggest revelation I had during this whole adventure. I was both elated and furious at the fact that I could have been doing this the entire time. I could have been writing and reading and working and doing all of the things I've always wanted to do before if I had just started earlier, and that realization hurts as much as it heals. Even with a full-time job, a husband, family life, social obligations, very few of them, but whatever, I made it all work. But I had to make sacrifices. Reading, quality time, sleep, reading time. I said that, but that one, it hurt the most. Your room will be messy, but your mind will be clear. Also, side note, this process is so helpful for anxiety. Sometimes your innermost thoughts come out when writing a character, and you don't realize it's a self-insert until much later. That doesn't mean any of my characters in this novel are self-inserts. I don't think. Number 7. Don't let a day go by without at least thinking about where the story will go next. The worst is finally finding the time in the day to sit down and write, and you're staring at a blank screen thinking for the first half hour because you're not as prepared as you should be. The same way Preptober is so helpful in preparing you for the writing month ahead in November, being prepared before a writing session can be paramount in getting you to hit that word count goal for the day and even surpassing it to give the next day a little nudge in the right direction. Take notes throughout the day. Don't rely on your memory. You will forget. If you have an idea throughout the day, write it down somewhere. Notes on your phone, Post-its, anywhere. I can't stress enough how much this one is detrimental to the process. If you're not sitting with your characters on a daily basis and figuring them out, your story will suffer for it, as well as your future self. I have a timeline of the entire book on my phone, and whenever I'm at work or out doing whatever, I open up that note and just stare at it for a moment and go back to the setting, go back to the last words I had written the previous day, and really think about where the story needs to go next. It's a wonderful escape as well. Next, 8. Don't take yourself too seriously. Have fun. Chances are the majority of us are not Stephen King. And he doesn't even take himself that seriously. Apparently, because I asked Mike about it, and I basically know him. We're basically friends. I should invite him for Christmas dinner. Just trust the process and don't stress too hard. This is why I wanted to write this particular story for NaNoWriMo, because it started off as just a daydream. I didn't care that much about the characters or the story, and I wanted something I'd be comfortable with just throwing away when I was done. But now, after I've met these characters and they've taken me on quite the little smutty journey, the stakes are a bit higher for me. I didn't expect to enjoy the process so much. It was hard at times, but for like 97% of the time, it was just fun because I wasn't taking it too seriously. Are these the best words I've ever written? No, not at all. Will I ever publish this book? Maybe. I've been playing around with the idea of publishing it under a pseudonym because I still have to have a life in the science and medical world for my career, and having my government name next to porn is not very helpful when trying to find work in the medical field. So I'll keep you all posted, but for now, it's a strong maybe. I need to finish it first of all, so yeah. Which I 100% plan on doing. There's no way I'm putting this down now. I am gonna finish. I need to finish. Which brings me to number 9. Find a routine. I think one of the most helpful things I did, other than pre-preparing every day for a session, was finding a routine, knowing exactly what time my mind needed to be primed to write. But this one did come with a bit of a learning curve. I suggest trying to write at different times of the day depending on your life schedule and see which flows best with your situation. On most days, I had to be at work before the sun came up, so I'd have to wait until I got home to start my word count for the day. Or I'd take my laptop and write between going from work to the gym, because I even found time to do that sometimes. But there was one week I didn't have to be in to work until 9 a.m., so I got up earlier than usual and wrote for 2 hours before work that whole week. It was very productive, but I felt I wrote better words on the days I'd write at night, right before going to bed. But that's just me. Do you prioritize word count productivity over the quality of the words? For this challenge, yes. Maybe. For your own novel not gimmickly written in the span of 1 month, maybe not. So find where your brain is most comfortable throughout the day to start writing and try to stick to it as much as possible. For some, that could be first thing in the morning. For others, like me, it's 3 a.m. To each their own. Finally, number 10. One of the most important things I found during this enlightened month of NaNoWriMo, Scrivener. If you write anything, damn it, download Scrivener and learn how to use it. It is absolutely brilliant. I know I haven't learned all the cool tricks and helpful things it can do, but I know it will come to me with time. Having multiple Word documents and endlessly scrolling through chapters to remember that one line you wrote 20,000 words ago can be so insufferably frustrating. Scrivener has everything neatly arranged in a way where you could flip through your chapters easily and accessibly. It also has spaces and templates for character cards, location cards, research tabs, screenshot capabilities if you want to delete a version of a chapter without actually deleting it. It's genius. Brilliant. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Download Scrivener. Not sponsored, but I'd like to be. All right, well, one more quick tip before we go. Figure out your writing setup. I do not recommend working on your laptop in bed. It's how I did it for the majority of my life, and I've been wrong this whole time. Bed is for sleeping. It really messes with your mind because then you're like, you're not in the right. Get a space. Even if you like have to go somewhere, like go to a coffee shop or whatever, because people do that. I don't like doing that because I don't like being in public. Find a desk or a couch where you're comfortable sitting upright for a long period of time and learn what you like and dislike when it comes to setup, monitors, writing software, and most importantly, in my opinion, keyboards. I myself am an Apple girl through and through. Pablo is not. So I have my MacBook Pro hooked up to a dual monitor setup, one being an ultra-wide screen and this keyboard that actually belongs to Hecate. She left it here and I've stolen it. Or as she says, hash, 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 hash. I like the way it feels. I like the way it feels. Mostly because it feels as close to a Magic Keyboard as I felt without being ridiculously priced. Maybe I'll do a whole video someday on the entire setup, make it all aesthetic and whatnot. But not today. This is just, yeah. Everything that I'm using, we'll link it down below. We'll figure it out. All right, that's all I have for you today, dear viewers. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you're not. I will be posting more writing-related videos and maybe even some writing vlogs in the future. I wanted to document this journey, but I found myself too enveloped in the process to distract myself with anything else, which is also why I only had one video out in the month of November. But you forgive me, right? I was writing a book. Speaking of the book, it's still not done. I expect the finished first draft to be around 75,000 words, and that seems ridiculous to think about, but that's just how far the story's taken me. And I hope to have a completed first draft by the end of the year and start editing for a maybe possible release next year.
You take a whole year?
No, next year is like a month away, yeah. Or by the time they're watching this, it's like tomorrow.
Hello, you one person watching the New Year's Eve.
I want to do it right. Get beta readers, do revisions and proper edits, the works. So patience, please. I don't see. I'm being brave in saying this, and I'm trying to make myself accountable and being like, well, I said it, so now I have to put it out. But I'm so scared because this book is really dirty. But it's not as I wouldn't say it's as dirty as some of the smut that I've read. But it's like it's in that. It would be in that genre. It would be among those in the shelves. And that's not necessarily what I want to be known for. I have a dilemma. I don't know if I should release this, but I put so much work into it. Help. Okay, I've also had the working title just be the names of the two main characters, but after bouncing around some ideas with Pablo, we've come to decide on a title, and I think it's super corny. But you know what? That's the genre, isn't it? Pablo wants to call it Extra Virgin, because it takes place at an olive orchard. And that's hilarious. But I thought that was too, that's too on the nose. Or on the dick. So right now the working title is Dancing with Strangers. I don't like it. That is a smutty contemporary romance title if I've ever judged a book by its title. But hey, that's the point. I know this is not the next Priory of the Orange Tree. It's strictly fun. And you know what's fun? I've here. How am I writing a book? I can't even write a script. And you know what's fun? So I've heard. Dancing with strangers. Can't get me to do it. Like I said in the beginning. Like I said in the beginning of the video, be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram. I got really scared. Like I said in the beginning of this video, be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram for updates, and be sure to check out our online Discord on Heartbeat for more frequent updates. Alright, I'm off to go neglect all of my other obligations and write until my fingers go numb, because that's just what I do now. Stay lost, keep writing. Goodbye.
Yeah.